I'm Mike Kucinski. I'm the interim Land Quality Division Administrator for Oregon DEQ. My privilege to provide some highlights about our Oregon's Emergency Response Program. It's one of 6 program areas in the Land Quality Division. We also have cleanup, underground storage tanks, hazardous waste, fuel tank seismic stability, and our materials management program, solid waste landfill and product stewardship. Those types of things. Next slide. So DEQ's emergency response program is designed to carry out legislative direction and to work with other federal, state, local agencies, industry, and communities to prevent and respond to spills of oil and hazardous materials. And much like EPA, DEQ has a wide range of programs within our air quality, water quality, land quality, and laboratory. We regulate pollution from industry and transportation. We conduct water sampling of rivers, lakes, streams, and groundwater to ensure the safety of drinking water, fish habitat, recreation, irrigation, and other beneficial. And we regulate hazardous waste, solid waste, environmental cleanup sites, brownfields, and recycling. So in short, we handle everything from A to Z: asbestos in air quality, and then zebra mussels in the ballast water, which resides in our emergency response program under West Michigan. Next slide. All right, so here's our org chart. A little different than the one we saw for Washington Department of Ecology. We have a small but mighty team that consists of 12 dedicated emergency response staff. We have 3 state on-scene coordinators in each of our 3 regions, 2 daytime duty officers, an oil spill contingency planner, 2 high hazard rail planners, a geographic response planner, and a GIS coordinator. Additionally, we have 12 after-hours duty officers who monitor spills during evenings, weekends, and holidays. And these folks come from a variety of programs within DEQ. And our team manages all spills of oil and hazardous material covering 98,466 square miles. Next slide. This data is a tad old, but in very similar numbers for this past year. So DEQ received over the course of the biennium, the 2-year period, from July of 2021 through June of 2023, 2,751 total notifications from the Oregon Emergency Response System. And the big takeaway, though, is very similar. Like I said, about 1,300, 1,400 notifications annually. So the volume is similar, and the locations are mainly along our roadways. So you'll maybe see the coast on Highway 101. We've got I-5 running up the Willamette Valley and down into southern Oregon. We have Highway 97 in the middle of the state running through Bend, and then of course the Interstate 84 up along the Columbia and headed into the northern part of the state. So 60% of those incidents were oil and hazardous material spills, with sewage and other events making up the remainder. Next slide. So we have 2 mechanisms for funding our program. It's a spill preparedness. We're funding our spill preparedness. It's the Oil Spill Prevention Fund and our Oil Spill Control Fund. The Prevention Fund is primarily supported by fees paid by oil storage facilities that transfer oil over Oregon's navigable waters and fees on covered vessels. And the Control Fund is supported by civil penalties imposed for oil leakage. Under state law, spillers are responsible to conduct and pay for all costs associated with cleanup. Oregon collects fees and penalties under several funding programs to pay for cleanups when the spiller is unknown, unwilling, or unable to do it. And an important note is that DEQ receives no general fund dollars to pay for spill response, preparedness, or prevention. So no taxes DEQ. Next slide. We have two distinct but similar programs set up under state law. One is the High Hazard Rails Program, and the second is the Petroleum Facilities, Pipelines, and Commercial Vessels, more than 300 gross program. And both require oil spill contingency plan evaluations every 5 years. And both also require multiple drills and exercises, including 2 deployment drills, 4 notification drills, and 1 tabletop exercise or functional exercise. And the state standards align with U.S. Coast Guard's National Preparedness for Response Exercise Program. Next slide. In addition to regulating contingency plan reviews, drills, and exercises, the EQ has a new program. It's our Fuel Tank Seismic Stability Program, which regulates the large capacity oil and fuel storage and distribution facilities located in Lane, Multnomah, and Columbia County. This here is a picture of a tank farm in the critical energy infrastructure hub in the Portland Harbor area. And the program requires facilities to assess the vulnerability to earthquakes and then develop a plan to minimize risk of damage from earthquakes and secondary effects to employees, surrounding communities, and the environment. We recently completed the implementation rules in September of last year, and facility assessment submittals were due in June of this year. Happy to report that all the facilities we expected to submit assessment did in fact submit assessments. Those are currently being reviewed and approved. And once those are approved, the next step is the mitigation plans to minimize the risk. Those will need to be submitted. Once those facilities have submitted their plan, mitigation plans and they're approved, then they'll have 10 years to complete the improvements. And currently one facility, PDX Fuel Company, this is the company that provides fuel at the Portland International Airport. They got an early start, and so their mitigation plan is out on public comment right now through December 13th. Next slide, please. As you can see on this map, the high hazard rail lines run along Interstate 84 and the Columbia River, Highway 97 and the Deschutes River, and Interstate 5, which runs along the Willamette. We have 2 high hazard rail planners who are working with rail companies, tribes, communities, and other interested parties to build relationships, develop geographic response plans, and to execute drills and exercises to ensure we are better prepared to respond to spills of oil and hazardous materials when they occur. Next slide, please. Some of the resources at risk from spills include mammals, migratory and resident birds, and fish and fisheries. These fisheries, particularly those involving salmon, are deeply important to Native American tribes as they provide a primary food source, hold significant cultural and spiritual meaning, and are often central to their traditional way of life. Oregon has 9 federally recognized tribes, you can see on the slide. And additional resources at risk are tribal remains and artifacts. So any soil disturbing activity should include an inadvertent discovery plan and be coordinated with the tribes and the State Historic Preservation Office, which is a program of the Oregon Parks and Recreation. Next. We also have hundreds of miles of sandy beaches and rocky coastline, including many islands, which make up several national wildlife sanctuaries and contain threatened and endangered species such as the lower Columbia River coho salmon, the green sea turtle, and the western field plover. And all Oregon coastlines are publicly owned. Next slide. The EQ participates as co-lead with the Washington Department of Ecology on the Regional Response Team's Geographic Response Plan Subcommittee. And during fiscal year 2024, the subcommittee completed work on resources at risk, geographic response plan standardization, Endangered Species Act compliance within the plan, and an update and expansion of the best management practices This is appendix. Next slide. DEQ's common operating picture is an interactive map we use to display all GIS related to major incidents during a response. The map contains geographic response plan strategies and logistical features like boat launches, potential staging areas, as well as data collected as part of the response, such as shoreline cleanup assessment technique data, ad hoc booming strategies, wildlife impacts, the current extent of the spill, spill trajectories, and sampling locations. Next slide. I won't spend much time on this slide. As Nia also mentioned, this is a case study that we'll be digging into later in this meeting. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so here was an incident that we wanted to point out. So on August 13th, 2024, we were notified of a sunken 1938 wooden hull trawler that had been converted to a pleasure craft named Mermaid. And this vessel sank at the port of Arlington on the Columbia River and contained some 900 gallons of diesel, which was causing a sheen on the river. The vessel owner was unwilling to assist in the recovery and cleanup. The DEQ, in consultation with EPA and the county emergency manager, hired Republic Services to begin booming operation. Over the course of 2 weeks, a unified command was established. 2 crane bridges were employed. More than 2,800 feet of boom was deployed. Skimming, air monitoring, wildlife monitoring, and coordination with tribes and the Columbia River Tribal Fisheries Commission were all carried out. The vessel was raised on August 26th and was staged in the Port of Arlington Marina parking lot for salvage by a port. Next slide. Okay, so pictured here is DEQ's 40-foot fifth wheel response trailer and our emergency response team. DEQ has 2 duty officers on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the best way to reach us is to call the Oregon Emergency Response System at the number shown here. We just asked to speak with the DEQ duty officer in Mooresville Pages. And you should get a call back within a few minutes, day or night. All right, next slide. I think this is my last one. So thanks again for your time and for letting me share our program and achievements over this past year. So we're happy to answer any questions. I'm not much of a technical guy, so between Kimberly, Wes, and myself, we'll do our best to answer any questions. Thank you.